Imagine this. You've just bought a crochet pattern that you're super excited about. You know exactly where you're going to wear it and when. A day comes up on your schedule where you've got nothing going on and you're like, okay, this is awesome. Today is the day. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to make this crochet project. It's going to be super straightforward and simple. I'm going to bust it out real quick. You download your PDF, you open the pattern, and what do you see? Now, I know that at this point you may want to toss your hopes of ever making that design out the window, because I've been there too. And it's not necessarily because of the chains themselves, right? Those are pretty simple to make, but it's the fact that you're going to have to do a bunch of stitches into those chains. For some people, this is no issue. You may have heard me describe that just now and you were like, I'm totally fine with that. But for others, myself included, this part of the crochet project can feel super awkward and it can get kind of frustrating. If you dislike this step enough, it could set your whole project off on the wrong foot. But what if I were to tell you that there's a way that you can skip that step? Well, you can. And you're going to know how to do it by the end of watching this video. It's called foundation crochet. Recently, I posted a reel talking about my preference for doing foundation rows instead of chains to start my crochet project, and I put a poll on that reel asking people what their preference was for starting their own crochet projects. As a result of both the poll and the comment section on that video, I found out that not a lot of people actually knew what I was even talking about. So I decided that I would make a tutorial because this is truly one of my favorite little crochet hacks. I guess it's a hack. It's kind of just a technique, but you know what I'm saying. A crochet party trick. So I'm making the tutorial because I brought it up to begin with, but just so you guys know, I am no expert. I think my channel name alludes to that. So I learned how to do this from a bunch of different blog posts, and I'm going to put some of the blog posts that I like the best from my time learning how to do this technique in the description below. And before we hop into the tutorial portion of this video, I do just want to say I recommend watching this video all the way through. I'm going to be teaching you guys how to do 4 different foundation crochet stitches. You may just need to learn how to do one for the pattern you're working on right now, but I would recommend watching all of them because what you'll start to notice is that there's an intuitive pattern to making foundation rows. And I think that learning how to do this technique fully makes you a stronger crocheter because you will understand the construction of stitches, like how the stitches become what they are in the end. So I think that watching the whole video will help you understand why you get the end result that you get, whereas watching it in part may just feel like you're memorizing how many loops you need to pull your yarn through. That's just my 2 cents. Watch this video however you want to watch it. I am going to provide timestamps so that you guys can jump around to the section that you most need to learn how to work on your project. But before we even get into all that, what is a foundation row? A foundation row is another way to start your crochet projects that skips the chain portion of starting your projects and goes right into the first row. For example, if your pattern tells you to do X number of chains and then row 1 of that pattern instructs you to do a single crochet into every one of those chains, doing a foundation row instead combines both of those steps into one. So what are some reasons that someone might choose to do this method over just doing traditional chains? Well, there's a few. I'm just going to speak in first person and from my own experience for this part because everyone's different, but these are the reasons why I fell in love with doing my crochet this way. We all know that counting is half the battle of crochet. And listen, like, some of us just really struggle with that part. For whatever reason, personally, I find it pretty hard to keep track and keep count of tiny little chains. But with the bar of the crochet stitch that's built into doing the foundation row, I find it a lot easier to count. It's a lot clearer how many stitches I've done. Another reason is that when starting with a foundation row, you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. So not only are you laying the groundwork for your project by laying out the number of stitches that you'll need, but you're also completing the first row in one. Making that big of a jump in progress so early on in the project is a really nice motivation boost for me. I like seeing a lot of progress work up quickly. Seeing the yarn that I chose worked up in the stitches, I don't know, it makes me excited to work on the project. Also, foundation rows tend to be stretchier than chains. At least this is generally the case. So depending on what piece you're making, it could help give that piece some more elasticity without having to go in and actually insert elastic or anything like that. The final reason for me is that I just like it better. I think in crafting, we all have things that we picked up along the way that we just like to do a certain way, and it becomes our method. And that's what makes all this fun, right? Is that we all have such a different way of doing things. So I think foundation rows are just one of those things for me. It's just how I like to do it. In terms of what you'll be needing for this, it's pretty simple because it's just whatever supplies you have on hand for the project you're going to make. So you're going to need your yarn. For the purposes of my swatches in this video, I'm using the Lion Brand 24/7 cotton yarn. You're going to need a crochet hook, and I'll be using a 5mm today. And then this is optional, you don't need this, but you'll see why I'm mentioning this in a second. If you'd like, you can keep some stitch markers on hand. Okay, so the first foundation stitch that you're going to learn is foundation single crochet. I'm going to get really detailed and specific in showing you guys how to do this one because you'll see patterns in this one that also come into play in the other three that I'll be teaching you later in the video. So foundation single crochet, the abbreviation for this in a pattern is going to be FSC. Start by making a slip knot and put it on your hook. Then you're going to make 2 chains. In the bottom chain, the first you made and the furthest from your hook, insert your hook. Yarn over and pull the yarn through that chain. At this point, you should have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull the yarn through the first loop on your hook. The resulting stitch from what you've just done is called the base stitch, and it's going to be the base of the single crochet stitch that you're about to do. I'm putting a bright blue stitch marker through mine just so that you can see it better. If foundation rows are new to you, you may want to use a stitch marker as well so that the stitch is plainly visible, as we'll be inserting our hook into it again in a second. Now we'll be finishing off our single crochet stitch. You should once again have 2 loops on your hook. To finish the stitch, yarn over and pull the yarn through the 2 stitches on your hook. That's it. So I'm going to show you guys how to do this a bunch more times, but I would encourage you to go to the little settings icon at the bottom of this video and alter the playback speed as I go through this again. That way, if it's helpful for you, you'll be able to watch it in half speed, so you can see me very slowly go through everything. So once again, I start off by inserting my hook into the base chain. This is the first stitch that we made in that previous step. Yarn over, pull through. You should have 2 loops on your hook at this point. Yarn over and pull through the first loop on your hook. Yarn over and pull through the remaining 2 loops on your hook. This is you completing your single crochet stitch. Continue doing this for however many stitches your pattern calls for. For example, if your pattern tells you to do 50 chains and then row 1 of your pattern is telling you to do 1 single crochet in each of those 50 chains, instead, what you'll do in this method is just do 50 foundation single crochet stitches. Something to keep in mind for all foundation stitches is that you're building both the base that your stitch is resting on and the stitch all in one go. In other words, that first yarn over pull through is always going to be you creating the base stitch, and then the following steps will just be you completing the stitch that you're wanting to achieve as normal. So in the case of foundation single crochet, after the base stitch, we yarn over and pull through the remaining 2 loops on our hook because anytime you're doing a single crochet, to complete the stitch, you yarn over and pull through the remaining 2 loops on your hook. Once you do however many foundation single crochets you need, continue in your pattern however it calls for you to go from the first row to the second and continue crocheting into the tops of your foundation stitches as normal. I've made 2 swatches for us to compare the difference between doing foundation crochet and doing chains and then a row of single crochet into those chains. So the traditional method of doing a row of chains and then stitches is on the right, and then the foundation example is on the left. Aesthetically, the difference is pretty minimal. Generally speaking, it's often found that starting with chains provides a bit less stretch than starting with a foundation row. It's a minimal difference, which I think you can see here, but there's just ever so slightly less stretch in the sample that's created starting with chains. I also wanted to show that there is no difference in size between these 2 swatches, which I made with the same number of stitches and the same number of rows. Therefore, as long as you reach gauge with your pattern, either of these methods should be interchangeable. It's really just up to what makes most sense with your pattern and your preference. So that's completely it for foundation single crochet. That's all there is to it. Now let's move on to foundation half double crochet. Now that you understand the general concept of what foundation stitches are, I think you're going to have an easier time figuring out how to get other stitches using this method. So let's say my pattern uses half double crochet instead of single crochet. That's no problem. So in this case, you would do what's called a foundation half double crochet, and the abbreviation for that is fdhc. Starting with a slip knot, chain 2. Before inserting your hook into the first chain, yarn over. Insert your hook into the first chain, yarn over, and pull through the chain. You should at this point have 3 loops on your hook. Now, yarn over and pull through the first loop on your hook. This is going to be your base stitch. You should once again have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through the remaining 3 loops, which completes your half double crochet. Then just continue in that way for however many stitches your pattern calls for. Yarn over, insert your hook into the base stitch from your previous half double crochet, yarn over, and pull through. Yarn over, pull through the first loop on your hook, yarn over, pull through the remaining 3 loops on your hook, completing the half double crochet. Once completed, you can continue on to row 2 of your pattern as normal. There is one appearance-based thing that you may notice that's a bit different between the swatches that were done with the chain method and the foundation row method. In a swatch done with foundation rows rather than chains, the stitches on the bottom look the same as the stitches on the top of the piece. For contrast, the swatch I did with the chain method has bumps on the bottom from where I inserted my hook into that chain. When you do a foundation row, this doesn't happen. It's a super minor difference, but it may be worth considering if you're deciding which method is going to be best for your project. If your pattern calls for double crochet but you want to do a foundation row, I'm sure you can guess the name by now, but it's foundation double crochet. The abbreviation of that is FDC. Start by making a slip knot and chaining 2. Yarn over and insert your hook into the first chain you made, which is the furthest from your hook. Yarn over and pull through. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through the first loop on your hook. This is your base stitch. You should have 3 loops remaining on your hook, and we will now proceed as you normally would with a double crochet stitch. So you're going to yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through the last 2 loops on your hook. With these taller stitches, it's a little bit easier to see what is your base stitch and what is the stitch itself. So that's what I'm trying to show you in this clip here. Continue in this way for however many double crochets your pattern calls for. Yarn over, insert your hook into the base stitch, yarn over, and pull through. Yarn over and pull through the first loop on your hook. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops on your hook. And that's the foundation double crochet. The last type of foundation stitch that we're going to explore today is called the foundation treble crochet or the foundation triple crochet, whichever side of that debate you're on. And the abbreviation for that is going to be FTC. Begin by removing the cat from your work table. Make a slip knot and chain 3 this time. Wrap your working yarn around your hook 2 times and insert your hook into your base stitch. Yarn over and pull through. Yarn over and pull through the first loop on your hook. You've just created your base stitch. You should now have 4 loops remaining on your hook. You'll now complete your treble crochet as normal. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through the next 2 loops on your hook. Then yarn over and pull through the 2 remaining loops on your hook. You're done. Continue this with however many foundation stitches your pattern calls for. Yarn over twice, insert your hook into your base stitch. Yarn over and pull your hook through the base stitch. Yarn over and pull your hook through the first loop that's on your hook. Yarn over and pull your hook through the first 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through the next 2 loops on your hook, and then you yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops on your hook. One of the best parts about crochet is that there's so many different ways to go about doing it. Foundation rows are just another way to start your projects that you may find out that you like better, or maybe not. Play around with it a little bit and see if you like it, and please make sure to leave any questions that you have about this method in the comments below. And while you're down there leaving comments, why don't you go ahead and subscribe? Wouldn't that be so fun and crazy if you subscribe to my YouTube channel? I think so. I've got a lot more tutorials coming for you guys. I would love your feedback on how these tutorials are going so far. And I've got some project vlogs lined up for you guys as well. If you want to keep up with the day-to-day progress of my projects, make sure to follow me on Instagram. My handle over there is @_thedroppedstitch, which is actually my same handle as it is here on YouTube. If you want to check me out on Ravelry, and you should because I'm kind of like upping my Ravelry game lately, you can follow me over there. So my handle on Ravelry is the drop stitch with 2 H's at the end. It's all one word. If you stuck around to the end, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys are having an amazing day and being nice to yourself. Until I see you in the next one, please be sure to drink some water, stretch your wrists, and please purl responsibly. I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye!